I know what a train can do and I don't want this happening to you.
They're big, they're fast and they're heavy. They weigh 90 tonnes and they're the silent killer.
We ensure everybody stays safe on the trains and at the stations. We can't do it alone though. We need everybody using the trains to do the right thing.
Police officers are responsible for ensuring the safety of all people and property. The Police Rail Unit work closely with transit guards to ensure that all people using the rail lines on all the lines are safe and secure. They also work hard at preventing criminal activity which damages the trains, the stations and other Transperth property.
When you want to get somewhere, this is one of the best ways to do it. Trains are cheap, fast and reliable. The Armidale line has been here for a long time, since before your grandparents were kids. Things have changed a lot since then. The trains are different. They're faster, quieter, and there's a lot more of them. There are a lot more people relying on the trains to get around too. So we all have to know how to use the trains safely, securely, and with the respect that this important public service deserves. Because it's here for the good of everyone, and we need to take care of it.
I'd been out drinking with some mates at a local pub. It was about 1:30 in the morning. I left the group that I was with and I thought I'd catch a train to another suburb. Got to the train station, no trains come, so I jumped down on the tracks and started walking. And a train had terminated, stopped for the night on a separate line. So, being silly, I started throwing rocks at it. One of the rocks that I threw at the train rebounded off and hit me in the back of the head. It actually hit me that hard, it fractured my skull and knocked me out. Everything from there is a bit of a blur, and next thing I remember is waking up in hospital on a life support system. I was in and out of consciousness a little bit, and then eventually when I did wake up, that's when the doctors come in and they told me that I'd been run over by a train. And as a result, I lost my right arm above the elbow, I lost my middle and index fingers on my left hand, and then they told me that they had to amputate my right leg as well.
If you're old enough to have younger kids looking up to you and following your example, you're old enough to make the right choices and to make sure that they don't end up in danger or in trouble. So we're going to have a look at how to use the Armidale line safely and respectfully, so we can all get the benefit of a train system that gets us where we need to be. But no matter how old you are, you need to know your rights and responsibilities when you ride the train. So let's check them out.
Everyone's got the right to get on the train and enjoy the ride without being hassled or annoyed by other people.
Everybody has a right to get on the train without seeing fighting.
We have a right to be in a smoke-free environment because it's bad for our health.
We've got a right to enjoy our journey in peace.
People with special needs have the right to be able to have a seat, no matter how many people are on the train.
Along with those rights come some responsibilities.
We need to make sure we don't muck up our part of the train.
We have to buy a ticket and show it to the transit officer so he helps us.
We should keep our music low so it doesn't upset other people.
We shouldn't swear around people we don't know because they might get offended by what you are saying.
We need to be polite to other passengers. They're there because they want to go somewhere without being hassled by other people. So, you know, if you're polite to them, they'll be polite back to you.
We should keep our bags out of the aisles so they're not in the way of other people.
Train stations are built to be as safe as possible. That's why they've got fences all around them, special gates across the tracks, bridges, underpasses, and all that kind of stuff. All these fences and gates are there to stop people trespassing, because trespassing on railway property is not only against the law, it's really dangerous.
I'll jump over the fence might be your last jump. You could be gone. And who's going to explain to mum and dad what happened?
You know, how would you feel if your mate ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, or your mate ended up with no legs or lost his life because you were out taking dangerous risks because you weren't looking out for him?
Trespassing means when you go onto property that you're not supposed to go onto, like jumping on the rail track, or going across the tracks instead of using the pedestrian gates or the overpasses or underpasses, or walking along the rail track instead of being on the platform. Sometimes people trespass to take a shortcut to save time, or because they're too lazy to walk a few extra steps to take the safe way. Sometimes they do it to pick up stuff they've dropped onto the track. And sometimes they trespass to do a crime on Transperth Railway property, like vandalism or graffiti.
Trains aren't dangerous, it's when you do dangerous things around trains that make them dangerous. Obviously, jumping down on the train tracks, taking shortcuts, playing chicken. But I think as a young person growing up, you really need to take each situation into account and think, you know, is it worth hopping down on the train tracks and taking a shortcut if it means I'm going to live the rest of my life with one arm and one leg? A 2-minute shortcut's not worth your life.
Just because you know when the next train is due, doesn't mean it's safe to cross the track. For a start, you don't know what time the train on the other track is due. It could be arriving at exactly the same time you decided to cross the track. Plus, there are plenty of express trains that don't get mentioned by the machine. They zoom through the station at 100 kilometres an hour, but you don't know they're coming until they're right next to you.
Because if you just don't follow the rules, then you'll just get yourself hurt or into trouble, or somebody else into trouble or hurt, like things like that.
Because our trains are powered by electricity, they have a motor instead of an engine. That means they're quiet, dead quiet. So you have to be really careful. Kids like you have been seriously injured by trains. It's ruined their lives and the lives of their families. Some kids have even been killed. When you're on the train platform, stand at least a metre from the edge, behind the yellow line. When the train arrives, let the passengers get off before you start getting on. Stay behind the yellow line and keep clear of the doors until all of the passengers get off. If you ever drop anything over the edge of the platform, don't try to get it. That's trespassing and it's so dangerous. Push the emergency button. A transit officer will come and help you. Our trains can travel up to 100 kilometres per hour, and it takes them about a half a kilometre to stop. But on the Armidale line, there are plenty of stretches where the driver can only see about 400 metres ahead. So that means, by the time he sees someone or something on the track, it would already be too late to stop.
To fly along at 100 kilometres an hour and have someone step out there or even balk to jump out is horrific, absolutely horrific. I actually hit a boy who jumped out from behind some foliage and just dived straight out in front of my train. I had absolutely no chance of stopping at that time. He was only a young boy, and it kind of rips your heart out after a while when someone does something like that. You know, that just devastates everyone involved, passengers looking on who see that kind of thing. But as a father, to think that that could happen to any child, including my child, you know, it just doesn't ring true.
One of the biggest things that I haven't been able to deal with is what I've put the train driver through.
I know one bloke had one incident, just couldn't return to driving, went off and his whole life was destroyed.
It traumatises everybody. It's like a rippling effect. It just doesn't touch one person, it touches a whole heap of people.
A lot of young people, and even myself when I was younger growing up, I saw trains as faceless objects basically, because you don't really see the driver, you don't talk to the driver, nothing like that. But we forget about, and I didn't realise until after my accident, how the train drivers' lives impacted.
To keep people safe from dangerous activity like trespassing, transit officers travel on the trains and patrol the stations. Transit officers are in charge of security for all the passengers, and they make sure that the stations and the trains don't get damaged. On Transperth Railways, transit officers are just like police. They have the same power to make arrests and charge people, and they can keep pursuing offenders even when they've left rail property.
The rules are there, not to trespass at all. People must abide by them for their own safety. It's their own safety that we're worried about.
Another way to help stop people trespassing are the closed-circuit TV cameras at every station. Here at the security centre, the operators can zoom in or pan around to see what's happening. And if they see someone trespassing, they get straight onto the radio and tell the transit officers to check it out.
It's been bad to the point where I've attended a lot of accidents involving people who have been on the railway line. It is stressful. It requires us to seek counselling afterwards. And sometimes we get flashbacks about seeing the bad things we've seen on the railway line. It stays with us forever.
I've had 2 nephews killed by trains. He walked the Purway, New Year's Eve, got collected by an express. That does drag up bad memories, because I was the one who bought his ticket for him to go home.
Trespassing on railway property is really dangerous. The signs, the fences, the gates, all this stuff is there to keep people safe. Watch out for yourself and anyone younger who you might be responsible for.
If you're an older boy or girl, be very careful on where you leave the young ones. So if you leave that young one into danger and that person dies, how are you going to face the parents? The grandparents, the brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunties?
Use me as an example. I have to live every single day of my life for the rest of my life without an arm, without a leg, without fingers. You know, learn from my mistake. Don't go on the railway. Look out for your mates. If they're taking dangerous risks or they're taking shortcuts, be a real friend and tell them not to do it. Look out for the younger kids as well and teach them that, you know, trespassing or taking dangerous risks around the rail line can end in a serious injury or death.
Stations and trains on the Armidale line are part of our public space, and we all use them. So they're places where everyone should feel safe and comfortable. Our trains are clean, modern and comfy. To keep them that way, we all have to pay our fare. Otherwise, it's not fair on the ones who do.
When I'm on the trains, my job is to ensure customer safety, as well as I must check tickets. So I've got to make sure everybody's got a valid ticket or a smart rider. This must be valid.
If you don't have a ticket or a validated smart rider card, you're going to get a fine. If the transit officers ask for your details, tell the truth. Giving a false name or address, or just refusing to answer, will get you into more trouble. You can even be arrested for this offence.
If you don't pay it, in the first month it starts going up from there, and the fines go quite high, and they start affecting you later on in life. So you want to pay your fines, but it's better to buy a ticket in the first place. It's only the cost of a can of drink.
If you get a fine, don't get angry or start arguing with the transit officers. There's no point. If you really believe that you've got a good reason why you shouldn't be fined, write a letter to the Public Transport Authority and explain why. Someone there will have a look at your situation and make a decision. Otherwise, just cop the fine and don't forget to pay it. The train is the only way many people in the community can get around. For school, work, shopping, to see friends and family, go to the footy or whatever else they need to do. It's really important that everyone using the Armidale line feels safe and secure.
On the weekends when we go out, we normally catch the train to where we want to go, and sometimes there's people there and they hassle us and they just give us a hard time, and we have a right to be there. We just want to chill out on the train and get to where we want to be going and have a good time. They have a right to be there as well, but we don't expect it from them, and we wouldn't do it to them either.
General behaviour of kids on trains is good, but there are a few bad apples in the bunch that spoil it for everybody else.
But if you get on the train and abuse other people and think that you're going to be respected back, well, it's not going to happen.
Some people treat the trains and stations pretty badly. They spray tags, they throw rocks, they vandalise Transperth stuff. Graffiti and vandalism costs a lot of money to clean up and repair. It spoils these public places for other people. It makes other people feel unsafe, and it can create dangerous situations. Once graffiti is found, it's cleaned immediately. Antisocial behaviour is no fun for anyone who gets caught up in it. It's uncomfortable to be around, and sometimes it's pretty frightening. And alcohol is often involved. But people who drink alcohol need to understand that riding the trains while they are under the influence can get them arrested. Some people take antisocial behaviour to the next level when they have a go at other passengers and transit officers. People who commit crimes get caught, and the trains and stations are covered with security cameras, and the transit officers are only minutes away. Plan your trip so you don't have to hang around at the station. Get there a few minutes before the train is due. Stay in the well-lit areas And if there is a transit officer booth, stay around there. If you are feeling unsafe, press the emergency button on the information machine.
Hi, I'm down on the platform and this guy's been following us.
Okay, is that person still on the platform, ma'am?
It's linked to the central monitoring room. The operators will zoom in on you and keep an eye on what's happening. They can also hear what's going on and will either talk to you about it or send the transit officers if they can see that you need help.
The officer there, and they will help you out, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you feel unsafe when you're on the train, you can press the emergency button to talk to the driver.
Yes, can I help you there? This is the driver.
Hi,
Or you can ring the transit officer shift commander on your mobile phone. If you see anything that needs reporting, tell a transit officer or contact Transperth's comment line. The sooner it's reported, the sooner the transit officers can do something about the situation. Cars cross the tracks at a level crossing. In the city, all level crossings have boom gates, flashing lights and bells to warn people when they are closing. When they start flashing or ringing, it's time to stop. Sometimes drivers try to sneak through before the gates are closed and they get stuck in the middle. People have been killed doing this. So if you're a passenger in a car, tell the driver to stop behind the white line and not to drive off until the gates have been fully raised and the lights have stopped flashing. Whenever you're arriving or leaving a station, remember to always use the safe and proper way to cross the tracks.
That you're in control of your own life. So what I think we all need to do, even adults, not just young people, is accept responsibility for our actions.
The kind of life you have depends on the choices you make. So choose to do the right thing. Use Transperth trains and stations safely. Set a good example for the kids who look up to you. And keep yourself and your mates out of harm's way.